it's something I've loved about Digimon games is that bond you get, right? And Digimon is a franchise, that bond between human and Digimon. Particularly when you encounter a Digimon and you want it to be something, like Tana's saying, you want this big magic powerhouse, and then you find out its personality doesn't want to be that. You're like, time to get you in the gym, buddy.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Bandai Namco podcast, where we give you exclusive behind-the-scenes looks and deep dives into the games you love by the people who make them possible, and the people who love them, which is especially true today as we are talking about Digimon Story Time Stranger once again, and we are once again joined by Jahara, Jayde, and Karn EX, and I am Tanner. I said that in a weird order, but it's fine. I get lower billing because I'm less important than you guys. But please introduce yourselves if anybody missed the first episode.
Hi, I'm Jahara Jayde. I'm relatively new to Digimon. I joined in when Time Stranger came out last year. I started playing it last fall and ended up putting close to 200 hours into it. I'm having so much fun having broken into the Digimon universe, and I'm so excited to be here.
And hi, I am Karn EX. I run a Digimon-focused YouTube channel, and I've been a Digimon the whole time.
Oh no. How could you? How could you not tell me? But today we are going to be touching on the meat and potatoes of Digimon Story Time Stranger, and that is the combat, the gameplay, the mechanics, getting really into the nitty-gritty. Last episode was about the story, the world, the lore, but today we're digging into those mechanics. So to start out, let's just get in talking about the gameplay, and let's start talking about what you're going to be spending so much of your time in Time Stranger doing, which is fighting other Digimon with your Digimon. So let's start there. So Jahara, if you could just give me an overview of the battle system in Time Stranger.
Okay, so the battle system, I say, would fall under a almost traditional turn-based combat system where you can see the turns of the characters as well as the enemies on the side, so you know exactly when each character is allowed to play. And then you have a system of weaknesses and strengths via data, vaccine, and virus. So each Digimon has a categorization of data, vaccine, virus. Is also like free. I don't want to talk about
that. There's more than just those three, but the core game is around those
three.
Yeah.
Are your data, your vaccine.
Sorry, go ahead.
You're good.
I was like, would you believe I'm so in the weeds that when I saw those other ones, that was huge for me.
Well, for me, I made a song about it where it was like data over vaccine, because that was the hardest one for me to remember. But I was like, yeah, obviously vaccine hits virus, and then the virus goes into the data. I was like creating mnemonics around all of it. And you use those strengths and weaknesses on top of the additional elemental strengths and weaknesses that each Digimon can have. So things like fire, steel, light, dark, etc. And you put all of those together with your 3 main Digimon that you can have and your 3 reserve Digimon plus the up to 3 guest Digimon that you can have in your party depending on where you're at in your story. And you go through and you fight Digimon. Every time you run into a Digimon, you have like an encounter percentage. And when you hit 200% or 100% technically of encounters with that Digimon, you can convert them and build your own Digimon for your own little family. And then that one you will be able to raise into from the tiniest little blob baby with a pacifier in its mouth to a goddess, truly. So
and everything in between.
And everything in between.
Yeah. So let's talk a little on the combat. Let's talk about those type advantages. Karn, you said you were so excited to see those other types. When you were playing for like the first time, how did you try to balance your team? Did you make sure to stay within that affinity wheel, or did you try to go outside as much as possible? Like how did you approach it the first time, if you can remember?
Yeah, it was tough because obviously I have my favorite Digimon that I want to carry through going into it knowing Digimon that exist. But so initially, obviously, you've got like your front team. So I'm always trying to keep, if I can, data, vaccine, virus. But I think what's really good about the game is it's not as easy to predict what you're going to need. Like if you're in, if it's on the elemental side, you might think, oh, I'm definitely going to need some like lightning stuff in this area, but there might be something that subverts that with certain bosses and stuff. So I think throughout the game, it was a blend of, okay, let's try and keep, data virus vaccine in the front, and then maybe in reserve or in my box, I'll try and keep some leveled up and ready that are of unknown or free, etc. But I think at a certain point, I just kind of went, okay, I just want my favorites here. I want Tiger Vespermon, I want Butenmon, who I carried through like the whole game. And I think that's what's great about the game is the elemental and the attribute system is so integral, especially when you're starting the game, but it gives you enough room, especially with like skills and stuff like that, that you can get to a point, especially more as the game progresses, where you can kind of like stack your favorites. I mean, that they're still useful, maybe not as useful. There's even some fights where Aegeomon is struggling.
He's like actively a problem sometimes.
Yeah, it's like Digimon, let's get it together. But that's what I love about the game is, you have these kind of like two effectiveness sides, but then also you can find compromises and reversal, which is like a game changer when you get character reversal. So yeah, but it's still a tough balance with your favorites too.
Yeah. So character reversal, I didn't really make huge use of it. So for those who don't know, what reversal does is it changes it flips the affinity wheel for whoever gets that status effect. So it can kind of mean, okay, I have this whole group of data Digimon and I'm fighting against viruses and I don't want to change, right? So you can just flip the script on them with that. Is that something that you used a lot, or because that's like because it's so easy to hot swap Digimon with your front and back row, I too tried to keep a good variety, so if I came up against something, I knew I could sort of just swap things around. But did you ever just like, no, I want this Digimon in my party and I'm going to just keep a reversal on deck? Did you do that?
So weirdly, it wasn't so much that reason. The reason was that I had brought in my A team and quickly realized that my A team was the B team and was getting demolished by a boss. So I kind of had to keep someone on hand with, or at least a couple of Digimon on hand with character reversal, just in case that where I'm desperately trying to keep all my favorites in the front and I just can't.
Yeah.
So that's my so really it was like a last hurrah as opposed to my primary line of defense kind of thing.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't touch that thing with the 10-foot pole. Like, I got it, I looked at it, I read the description, and I was just like,
yeah. You're just
I'm
like, this is math.
Like trying to like keep a hand on all of these like affinities and the elements. One thing that I really valued once I figured out that it was possible, because I'd never seen this before, was that you could, like, each character had like their base affinity in terms of like darkness or light or things like that, but you could remove their skills and then give them a bunch of other skills to make sure. And I actually would take all 6 members of my party and give them like a very balanced smattering of elemental attacks. So I made sure that there was at least 1 to 2 Digimon that had, so that every single element was represented across the entire party. And for me personally, I did keep always 2 viruses, always 2 vaccines, and always 2 data, which I did complain profusely about to my chat, because once we got to Ultimates, I was like, all my divas are viruses.
Yeah.
Like, all my favorites are viruses, but I was like, we're going to keep these two divas. And I actually ended up leaning really strongly into a light and dark team with a strong poison aspect, which did me so well. I actually never ended up losing a single boss fight in the entire game somehow.
Lucky.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just always
it's definitely strategy.
I was really prepared, and I also was like down in potions because the potions didn't take up your turn, and that was also a game changer. So.
That is every single time I have been on screen talking about this game, I have pointed out how using an item doesn't take your turn and how incredibly freeing that is. I love it so much. It makes it so the items, they're so common, the RPG trope of like, I never use my items. But here it's like, no, you can use them. It costs you nothing except the item, obviously. And that just allows you to have heals on the ready, never have to worry about recharging your abilities, being able to actually get rid of status effects or apply status effects or apply buffs. This is just me totally going on a tangent here, by the way. I love this
Please.
feature of being able to use the items freely. It like every single person that I work with that I've talked to about this game, I'm like, this is incredible. Anyway, sorry.
No, not even anyway.
No,
I'm jumping on
yeah.
it with you. It's my favorite thing. Also, just to even jump on that train, like add a little boost to it. The fact that you can switch out your Digimon and that doesn't take
Mhm.
up a turn either was
Yeah.
integral to so many of my battle strategies. Because there were moments where I couldn't, like the boss is going to have like this gigantic attack, and I wasn't able to knock them down fast enough. And there were times where I was like, this is my hard hitter on this particular boss. I cannot let them get hurt. And I would switch my party out to take the hit. And I'd
Yeah.
be like, I can switch them out. You guys will take the hit. I'm so sorry. And then I'm going to bring the other person out, and then we'll slowly get you guys healed back up because I can't have 0 people in reserve while I go in. So like the ability to like be like, okay, let me see what items I can have that can do like a buff or that can do like a debuff on the boss, and then I can heal and then we can attack. It made each turn really feel like you could strategize and like make
Yeah.
it count. And I really liked that. Where before it's just like, well, do I attack? Or do I heal someone, or do I buff the team, or do I switch out the Digimon
Switch
because I
someone
didn't
in.
have the right affinities lined up? And sometimes I find myself being like, well, I'll just attack because it's better than no damage at all. But like I never
Yeah,
had to
exactly.
make that choice, and I feel like that made the battles so much more like a game of chess for me, where I was just like, okay, I can really think about all the things that I can do here before I go. So
Yeah, and because the game is designed with that in mind, if you're trying to just like, sometimes I'll get into sort of a flow where I'm just like, yes, I'm attacking. Oh wait, I haven't healed for like 3 turns worth. I could have been, and I didn't. I think it's so integral to the combat system, and I think it makes it so much more dynamic. But coming back, I'm sorry, that was my tangent. I'm sorry, everybody.
We need more tangents, trademarked.
Of talking about the attachment skills, the ability to switch out, and these aren't things that are particularly hard to find. You can buy them very easily in the in-between theater, so that you have that array of different elemental types to combat any particular threat you come up with. And I also like how all 3 of us, we've never talked about this with each other before, but we all were like, okay, we wanted to have a good array of virus vaccine data. We specifically laid out so we had all of our bases covered on elements. I think that just really goes to show how easy it is to come to that conclusion when you're playing, because we've never talked about this, and I'm sure that the internet at large probably has come to a lot of the same conclusions we have, but it feels so natural to figure that out. But then the game knows that, right? The game knows that you can do that. So that's what really got me about the bosses. Yes, we can finally talk about fighting the bosses in this game, where all of those things that we've just talked about, the game tries to turn that on its head.
Yeah.
Where it's not just like, okay, this is a boss who just hits you really, really hard. No, it's like, this is a boss who you cannot restore your SP for.
Yeah.
Like,
Bruh.
Or attacking them does something to you, or
or you can only use magic or just physical for this time.
Yeah,
That was probably one of my favorite fights because I hadn't considered that aspect of my character's strengths at all until that battle.
Yeah, that's another layer as well, for sure, that you have stats that affect your physical attack and defense, and you have stats that affect your magical attack and defense, and that different attachment skills are pulling from those stats separately. And sometimes you can wind up in a situation, it's not just, oh, I have my virus vaccine databases covered. Oh, I have my electric, dark, light, fire bases covered. It's also like, oh, this guy is just like randomly immune to magic. Or that magic things heal him. Like, and you have to be ready for that. That's something that I really love, is that the complexity in the combat system is there, even though you seem so unlimited in your ability to like master the combat. There's a
Can
lot
I
more to it
actually
than that.
take a note on that? I think one of the
Yes.
things I really loved is that because the game allows you through these like various encounters with bosses to show you like your strengths and your weaknesses, and like really takes advantage of like the elements versus like the Veda virus vaccine versus like magic versus like physical. I think this was the first game that I played personally, and I played a lot of RPGs where I actually felt a vested interest in each individual stat of the Digimon on my team. Or like usually if something were to digivolve, it'd be like their defense has gone up, their attack has gone up, their intelligence has gone up. And I'm just like, abstractly, yay. All I really care about is their HP. You know,
Yeah.
like their HP is higher and their attack is higher. That's usually all the things that I focus on. But I actually, through all of those fights, I was just like, okay, for you, let's really hike your intelligence because you use so much magic, and let's really work on your SP so that I don't have to worry about you running out like ever. And then you, I'm going to make you a tank. So we're really going to increase your your HP, and we're really going to increase your attack. So you hit super hard and they can hit you. And there were a few of my moms that I got to 9,999 HP. I was so serious. I was like, I won't lose this battle because you can't kill me. It doesn't matter how hard you hit. And that made me like really interested in like every single aspect, and I felt really invested in the combat and the raising of each of my monsters because of that. So I love that aspect of the game.
Yeah, just to hop on quickly there, I think that's what I appreciate about it is that it really rewards you for spending time, whether it's with attachment skills, working, okay, this guy's very like lightning focused, let's put some fire and healing and stuff there, or your attributes or your elements. But also, it never felt unfair. Like even there's a boss in the dark area that just throws completely unexpected stuff at you. And I lost that fight. That was my first loss. I cannot touch the Jahara perfect run. But I wasn't reset to a point where I wasn't stuck at a point where I couldn't re-strategize with my existing guys. And I also wasn't a million miles away from the in-between theater to go and maybe pick up a new attachment skill, do some training. And so you feel amazing when you hit a boss fight and you just, do it really great. Or you go, oh, I've got a guy in reserve that can do this. But it doesn't feel punishing and like you've hit a wall when you do encounter those bosses like Skull Seedramon, who you're just not prepared for, like the flip-flop between physical and magical. You, even if you aren't prepared for it, like I had my guy, I didn't even looked at it, it said, oh, does magical damage? I just went, fire, and it's like 500? Awesome, put that on.
Yeah.
So seeing that I had that ability to kind of retune and not be set back miles was great. I loved it.
Yeah. I realized in real time as we were talking about this that we haven't quite touched on personality traits yet. And that's just like, as we keep talking about this, I'm remembering in real time just the layers and layers and layers, because Jahara, as you were saying, that like your stat increase matters so much. Like for me, I came in, having my favorite Digimon, having the ones that I wanted to play, but somehow I randomly had this Ancient Wisemon whose magic stat was just unreasonably high. It was so much higher than anybody else's, and I imagine that he just kind of comes like that. But like, so I just wound up having him in my party forever because his damage was orders of magnitude higher than everybody else. And I think that's also something great about this system is, yes, you can go in and say, okay, this is the Digimon that I want to raise to be my physical damage powerhouse. Or this is the Digimon that I want to raise that I want to be my anti-magic tank type person. But you can also just kind of let the chips fall as they may and build a team of whoever winds up having that personality trait or having, throwing attachment skills on them that you like. I think that's a really great part of it too, because I fell in love with so many more Digimon than I knew of when I started, because just seeing them in battle, seeing their abilities, seeing how cool each and every one is. And again, I'm going off on tangents on this episode. I'm so sorry, everyone. But yeah, personality traits. Let's talk about those.
It's So there's a word I love, ludonarrative, right? Ludonarrative dissonance, when sometimes a game doesn't match up with the mechanics. The Digimon Story Time Stranger is the exact opposite of that, where with the personality traits, and it's something I've loved about Digimon games, is that bond you get, right? And Digimon is a franchise, that bond between human and Digimon. Particularly when you encounter a Digimon and you want it to be something, like Tana's saying, you want this big magic powerhouse, and then you find out its personality doesn't want to be that. You're like, time to get you in the gym, buddy. But no, really, like I think it's such a great. It really does, and they focus on this a lot. This feeling of bonds between Digimon, and so it being a core part of the game, not just something you can to an extent choose not to delve too deep into it if you don't want to.
Yeah.
But I think you are so much more rewarded and feel so much closer to your little guys, or your, like you say, giant goddesses, when you have put time into talking to them in the field or trying to match up what they're good at based on what they're maybe naturally inclined to. But again, that freedom to always, at the end of the day, spend as much of Kanan or Dan's money as you want on just shifting their personality completely.
Yeah.
I thought it was really fun because I didn't delve too much into personality. When I started really getting into the farm and really making sure and training, I then got into the idea of, like, I was looking at the personality and be like, what personality do I need to get them to help get these stats up a lot higher, more naturally? Yeah. And sometimes I would do that, but then sometimes I was just like, you're going to be my party, and you're, whether or not you like it or not, and I'm going to increase this stat. And it was just fun for me to be like, what does increasing their HP all the way to max turn them out to be personality-wise? I just never thought about, like, well, what kind of person, what kind of Digimon will they be conceptually if they have 9,999 HP? Like, what are their what's their belief system now? And that was like a fun little, like, extra kind of world building aspect for me as well, because it can go either way. You can do it by their personality, or you can do it by their stats and then develop their personality that way. And yeah, I think you can really delve into it as deeply or as lightly as possible. I don't think you actually need to pay attention to the personality at all and let it develop just through regular leveling, or you can, like, really use it to, for lack of a better term, manipulate all of your Digimon into exactly what you want them to be. And I think it's fun that you can do either or, and the game really kind of lets you choose that. Something I'd never experienced before either.
I think also for DNA Digivolution, it's nice because sometimes you're like, oh, these two Digimon are ready to, become Chaosmon or something. And then sometimes one of your Digimon is the exact right personality and one is on the complete other side of the chart.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like one of them going, well, I don't want to DNA Digivolve with them.
Yeah. I too, kind of at the start, I was like, well, that probably doesn't matter as much. Like, I can probably still get to where I want without, shifting them over from something that increases defense and HP to something that increases attack and defense. Like, I don't need to focus on that. But then as you get further into the game and you start to see how helpful it is, it's a mechanic that is there from the beginning. And definitely as the game goes on, it becomes more and more important. Especially when you start really leveling up your agent skill tree and you start to be like, oh, well, while my Digimon is this personality type, it gets these additional boosts to stuff. And if you're not investing in that, then your Digimon is just weaker. And I think it's a very organic sort of feeling as you get towards, like, the mid-late game of going like, okay, I need to pay attention to this now, but it doesn't really overwhelm you from the very start, which I think is really helpful.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of mechanics like that in the game where if you want to be kind of the absolute, like, most min-max kind of player, you can really dive into stuff. But there's also plenty of opportunities to just go, I just kind of want to play the game at my own pace and delve into things that I do like and don't delve into stuff that I'm finding more difficult or challenging,
Exactly.
So one last thing that I want to talk about. We're going to end this on a fun one, and it's going to focus on you, Jahara, a little bit. When you first start out in that sewer and you get introduced to 3 different little Digimon, Demi-Devimon, Gomamon, and Patamon, I want you to, as close as you can, talk me through your decision process of deciding which of those Digimon you wanted to take with you at the start of the game.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess I would come from a different perspective because I had no idea of the potential of any of them whatsoever. So it was just purely based on like vibes and like what I thought was a good idea. I also didn't know that like what they might turn into would look nothing like how they began as well.
Mhm.
So I was kind of under the assumption that they were gonna go in like a similar form.
Mhm.
So I immediately put Devimon aside. So sorry, little baby. I now know that also would have been great personally for me. As
Sure.
a fan of Lady Devimon, that would have been great personally for me for the immediate potential. But I was just like, it's not cute for me. So I was like, you can go over here. I mean, like, they're cute, but objectively, you have to say there's Gomamon and Patamon. And you're like, they're definitely more cuddly looking. So I was like, okay, we have this really adorable, just like lightly glazed Twinkie bat. And then we have this really adorable, like seal walrus sort of mix.
Yeah.
And I decided that I wanted to go with Gomamon. And it was pretty clean, half and half, 50% between Patamon and Gomamon, because Gomamon, I just liked the white and blue aesthetic, and they just looked so sweet. And I don't regret it because like when they attacked with their little fishes, they'd be like, fishes! And I was like, yes, you're so cute. It's so good. So it was really just all down to vibes. I had no idea of any of their potential or I couldn't tell just from their looks, like what their elements would be. I didn't understand the concept of data vaccine or anything yet. So it was just like, you're cute. I like you. You're the cutest one in my opinion. So,
If it makes you feel any better, as a Digimon fan of like 30 years, that's exactly the same thing I do. Just vibes. Just vibes.
Well, hearing that, I do actually, Karn, I'm sure the decision process for you was totally different. And if you can think back, what was your decision process between those three?
So yeah, it's a tough one. So growing up on the franchise, obviously you see a lot of Patamon and Gomamon. They're very, like, in a lot of things. And you probably see Devimon in that kind of role as like as a first pick Digimon, probably less. So it really enamored itself to me. But then obviously I love Patamon. And I realized the first three playthroughs I did, I am like well known for loving Armor Digimon. And Patamon is the easiest, well, it's the only of the three that can Armor Digivolve. And I don't think I ever picked Patamon. And I don't know why I didn't do that. But the first time I went Devimon, and then I may have made a short based on the demo about why that was maybe the worst pick. And then everyone got mad at me. And then I could just continue to pick Devimon. But I think it's because I do appreciate Lady Devimon, those kind of Digivolutions. But also, I still was going into Time Stranger because of branching Digivolution. Yeah, I knew the stereotypical evolutions like Patamon to Angemon, Gomamon to Ikakimon. But I had no idea what the other potential branches would be. So I was really curious to see what the team had decided would be a potential evolution for Devimon in this game, So I think that's why ultimately I went with them for like the first three times.
I was just saying, I think I also had a really unique perspective because knowing about the branches and like the evolutions very vaguely, my husband and one of my moderators are huge Digimon fans, and they were convinced that there were certain Digimon that I needed to meet in their endeavor to make sure that I enjoyed the franchise. So there were a few that when caught, they actually had an entire spreadsheet of like, they would just tell me, go here next, like do this Digivolution. And I had no idea why or where we were going. It was very much a trust the process. So we had an entire like sort of like outline for all of the Digivolutions. So my first choice was really the only one that I got to be like, this one is mine, and just pick and just go for pure vibes. So
yeah.
What is so funny to me, again, we didn't talk about this before. I didn't know any of this when we started talking because my first pick was Patamon. So we have all three covered here. Nobody got left out. Yeah, I love me an Angemon, and I kept him in my main party for my entire playthrough, partially because he was there from the start, so he accrued so many extra stats. Like, he was very strong for me the whole time, and I didn't regret him for a minute, even though I knew the Demi Devimon route. I knew that.
Oh, really?
I knew that Lady Devimon was there.
Yeah.
I knew that I could eventually get a Beelstarmon out of that because I'm that kind of man. But I was like, I'll probably be able to make my way to that later. I really want to be sure I lock down my Angemon here from the start. So
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic that all three are covered here. And if anybody's watching right, that means no one can be mad. Nobody got left out.
Loves them.
Exactly. All of the starter Digimon were covered here, so nobody can get mad. Let's carry that with us. Let's carry that truth with us before we go into the comments. They're all loved. They're all equally loved. Well, anyway, I want to again thank you guys so much for joining me as we just have talked and gushed for what feels like hours and hours about Digimon Story Time Stranger, and I know that we could sit here talking so much longer, and we may once we finish today. Yeah, we're gonna be in a group chat for the rest of the time, just talking about Digimon. But thank you so much, Karn EX. Thank you so much, Jahara Jayde, for joining us today, and everyone. You can play Digimon Story Time Stranger right now. You can go out and play it right now and let us know. I'm gonna do the thing. Let us know in the comments which of the 3 Digimon you started with.
I need to see all Demi Devimon. Delete all comments that say Patamon.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. It's gonna be a battle in the comments, and we'll see you there. All right. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye.
Bye.